Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson. I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. Mighty Joe, man, we're getting close to spring ball. It's coming up. And we've been going through the team, the roster, position group by position group, and we're all the way to linebackers now. I think this is our second to last position group we're going to do before the start of spring ball. You know what? And this is a position group, actually performed quite well last year, despite the defensive struggles, led by Jordan Brooks, the All-American. And I think they recruited it really well in the offseason, Joe, and they have some key guys returning. What do you think about this linebacking core going into spring ball?
Yeah, I think the potential there is pretty darn good. I mean, you've got a nice mix of veteran players coming back and pretty good-looking newcomers. Yeah. You got some guys with some speed. You got some guys with some size. You got some pieces to mix and match there. So, yeah, I think this could be a pretty good group.
We'll start with some of the guys returning. Rico Jeffers, I think, is kind of like the leader on defense, the returning leader. He had an up-and-down season. I felt like early in the season, he wasn't really living up to expectations, and he came on some late, made some good plays for the Red Raiders, and it's time. Jordan Brooks had that season last year where he emerged, and I'm not expecting a Jordan Brooks type season because he doesn't have that kind of speed, to be quite honest, but I am expecting Rico to have a big season. What do you think about Jeffers?
Yeah, it's time for him to step up, and he's got some ability. Obviously, he's a kind of a thumper, a great big linebacker. Doesn't have Jordan Brooks speed, but he's not just like a brontosaurus out there or anything either. So yeah, he's got the ability, and he just needs to be more consistent. I mean, he is the face of the linebacker corps coming in this season, and much is expected of him. Hopefully he will take this opportunity for what it's worth and really elevate his game, and I think he's capable of doing that.
And there's some guys who've played some, but not a whole lot. Let's start with Evan Rambo, who came in as a grad transfer. And, it's the same story with Evan, I think, throughout his career was last year, was when he's healthy, he can actually make some plays and be kind of a factor linebacker. A guy who creates negative plays, comes up with turnovers, but he just can't stay healthy, Joe. He didn't stay healthy at Cal, and he didn't stay healthy last year. So, I think that's going to be like a wait-and-see type thing with Evan. If he stays healthy, hey, I expect a big season. But at this point, you can't rely on him staying healthy.
I know. Yeah, I mean, he flashed a lot early last year, Yeah. And, of course, early is kind of synonymous with being healthy. Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, once guys start playing some games, then they start getting banged up, and that's when Rambo disappeared. He's probably, because of the injuries, you can't count on him to be probably a starter or anything like that. You kind of use him in spots maybe and hope you can get a year out of him, where if you keep his reps down a little bit, maybe he doesn't get banged up as much. So I don't know exactly how they're going to use him in that regard, but he's got the talent to definitely be on the field and make some plays. So, yeah, like you, I just hope he can stay healthy.
Yeah, he's a versatile guy, and he's a very likable guy if you talk to him. So he has a good head on his shoulders, and I hope that, it works out for him. All right, you have some guys that didn't play a lot, but we have to see how they developed this offseason. Cosi Eldridge is a guy who came in we heard a lot about. Was kind of under the radar. Was a late bloomer type. Originally out of Denton Ryan High School, where he had a really good career. We'll have to see where he fits in and where he's at this spring. Braden Stringers, a guy, he seems like he's been here for 10 years. He played some, and he's a reserve inside linebacker. I don't know if he's going to be able to emerge this year or not, but at least you have a veteran guy there, Joe. And then you go Patrick Curley. I have no idea what they have in him. I believe he's going to be a redshirt freshman or sophomore, redshirt sophomore. I can't believe he's already been here a couple years now, but Patrick Curley, have to see where does he fit in. Is he an outside back or is he inside back or does he do a little bit of both? There for depth, so we'll have to see. But, as I mentioned in the beginning, Joe, I think skill position stole the headlines at signing day, and rightfully so. I mean, they bringing in some really good receivers and running backs, and quarterback, and all that. But linebacker, I think I was surprised at how well they recruited the linebacker position this offseason, or this past recruiting cycle. They hit it in grad transfer with Brandon Randall out of Michigan State, who I've talked to some guys at Michigan State. They didn't want him to leave. He had a good chance of starting and playing a lot. He's already shown here since he's been in the program some of that athletic ability. He got trained right, developed there at Michigan State, hard-nosed program. He was an Army All-American coming out of high school there at Battle Creek, Michigan. It's all set up there, I think, for him to be a really good player. He can play inside and outside. I think he's going to start as like an overhanging type, Raider back. So we'll see what he does. I like him. Christian Merriweather, he's also, here for spring ball. He was a junior college All-American. He led the country in junior college in stops. Sideline to sideline guy. I think he's going to actually play the Jordan Brooks role, replace him as that straight linebacker making a lot of plays. He's just a tackle machine. I really like him. So just with those two guys that are going to be here in spring ball, what are they adding to the linebacker room, Joe?
Yeah, I would not be surprised if Randall doesn't turn out to be your best linebacker.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, so I think they hit a home run on him.
Yeah.
That's great. If Merriweather turns out to be your tackling machine, it doesn't have to be a guy that's necessarily making plays in the backfield,
right.
but as long as he's not allowing people to get into the third level of the defense.
Over too.
Yeah, right. So he looks like he could be that kind of a guy. So that's good. And then, we could mention guys like an L.B. Moore. I know you're high on Derek Lewis.
He's coming in this summer. Both of those guys.
Right. And, I like L.B. Moore. I think there's potentially a Raider guy, overhang linebacker sort of a guy who can do some things there. And then one other veteran, but we probably don't want to overlook, is Xavier Benson.
Thank you. I was just thinking that too.
Yeah, who I think was more of a spur, kind of a linebacker, speedy, did some good things last year, and he'll be a factor as well. I wouldn't be shocked if he's in the starting lineup quite a bit.
What I liked about Benson is I think the question on him was he big enough? Was he tough enough? His athleticism is off the charts. He's a big guy, big frame. He can run like a deer. He's not afraid to hit, but he got knocked out by his teammate like in consecutive weeks. This happens a lot more, I think, than people realize. But he was in on a tackle, kind of holding the guy up. And one time it was Broderick Washington who had a full, steam, full run and hit him right in the head, knocked him out. But he came back, I think, the next week or the week after that, and same thing happened again, but it wasn't Broderick, thankfully. I can't remember who it was. So he got tested, that toughness. And I think, for the most part, Xavier passed. Just keep getting bigger, keep developing. And like you, I think he could play Raider. I think he could play some inside, which he did some last year too. And then maybe spur. But I think they want to go more. Derek Jones, when he was introduced, told me they want to go more cornerback at spur. Now, there'll be some big packages where they need a bigger linebacker type. And Xavier Benson is a perfect guy to fill that role at spur for the Red Raiders. So I'm actually cautiously optimistic and excited about this linebacker room. And Coach Kevin Cosgrove, the new assistant coach, is about as veteran as it gets. 40 years of college football coaching experience, defensive coordinator, coaching linebackers. He's that kind of guy where you expect snot to be flying out of practice and him cussing. You can't understand what he's saying half the time, but you better get your butt in gear. He's that classic guy. Then honestly, I think you need probably a linebacker. So I'm excited to see what happens with this position this year, but even just the spring. So Joe, great stuff from you as always. Thank y'all for watching, and until next time.